I'm here. I can't hear anything.
Pat, can you hear us now?
Can you hear
No.
us, Pat?
Good evening, everyone that's here. We're trying to get Pat's audio working. So if you can give us a few minutes to do some experiments, we appreciate it. Hold on a second. God.
Hi, everyone. Welcome.
Hi, everybody. On this chilly night.
Chilly.
Chilly. I just put my heat back on. I'm freezing.
I have the air conditioner right in front of me. Can everybody hear? Is there a drone in my audio?
No, I could hear.
I have the air conditioner literally right in front of me, blowing right on me.
I flipped my heat back on. It was 60 degrees in my house.
Oh, wow.
Pat, type in the chat.
Give her a direct message, but trying to see.
Those of you coming in, we're trying to get Tomo P's microphone working here so she can talk with us. I think we can hear her, but she can't hear us. Hi there.
Yeah, she has to share her screen because then I might be able to take control of her computer.
All right.
Hold on a second. I have an idea.
I can hear you now, Bob.
Oh, you can?
Yep.
What happened?
Okay, what happened?
God only knows. All right.
Don't look a gift horse in the mouth.
I was going to try to I was going to try to take control of your computer.
No, I finally, we're all in. I'm out of practice session. I'm here. Okay.
Okay. All right. Yeah, because if a panelist shares their screen, the host can actually take control of that person's computer. And then I was hoping to do that and then fix it from here, but you fixed it yourself.
Anyway,
That's great.
whatever. I'm back. Here
Excellent.
Glad to have you.
All right. So I think pretty much everybody that is going to be here is already here. So welcome everyone to the May Trustees Q&A. You all should know us already. We're here every month. And this is kind of an experiment now where we're starting to have Q&A webinars towards the middle or end of the month, and in the beginning of the month having a speaker for a combined directors and trustees webinar. So on something like this, we can talk about anything you want, any questions you want. Please put them in the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. You can use the chat to talk amongst yourselves or post links or anything like that. And yeah, if you want to talk about the webinar from a few weeks ago or any other questions, please let us know. While we wait for other questions, does anyone have anything they want to announce or?
Why don't you tell them about, is it June 7th, what the topic is for the joint trustees and directors?
Sure. Let me bring up, so I want to see the actual correct wording.
So you'll get notifications for these webinars and programs on NJSL Direct that go out to your directors, but also NJLTA will send them out to you.
Yep.
In their email listserv and newsletter. So that's where you find the links to sign up.
So on June 7th at 7 p.m., we're going to have one of our colleagues from the State Library, Andrea Lewandowski, is going to be the speaker, and she is going to present on library services and partnerships for business development. And I can read the description really quick. Libraries are valuable institutions for entrepreneurs and business owners that provide a wealth of information, comprehensive databases, and connections to community resources. Andrea Lewandowski, library consultant, small business development and technology at the New Jersey State Library, will discuss why business outreach and services are consistent with the mission of libraries and how the New Jersey State Library and other library organizations support these efforts. She will also discuss potential partnerships that libraries can develop and strengthen to enhance their work for the business community. Please bring your questions, ideas, and suggestions with you as well, so we can learn from one another. So, go ahead, Michelle.
I was going to say, Andrea's been working, in this field now for many years. So she has a lot of a wealth of knowledge that she can bring to the webinar. It'll be really interesting. And, hopefully you'll learn something new about ways to outreach to your business community because, sometimes they have money too. So that's very helpful. So we hope you'll register and join us. I think we already have over 40 people signed up. So that's great. Yeah, so we're looking forward to it.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So meanwhile, I just encourage you that, we have a small group tonight and that's fine. We had a small group of directors on Tuesday during the day and we still went an hour. We had a lot of chat going on and opened the floor for people to tell us news and that worked out really, really well. So please put your questions in the Q&A or if you have something else you want to talk about, because we're a small group tonight, we can have a more, maybe a more conversational
More reaching conversation.
um,
I think people almost feel like they're back in school and the year is winding down. And they're kind of taking a step back, right?
yeah.
Mhm. Pardon my froggy voice, everybody. Allergies.
Excuse me.
Season here. Everyone has super allergies. It's
Mhm.
Yep, pretty much.
this year.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
Bob, I think there might be a question in the
Yeah, I saw the question. I just didn't know if anybody else, if anybody else had anything they wanted to announce.
Pat, anything from your group? Anything?
No,
No.
we are,
Okay.
we are going to be down at NJLA in a couple of weeks, like everybody else in the library, excuse me, the New Jersey library community. So we're looking forward to that. And then we will kind of be just with you guys over the summer doing our workshops and then we'll kick back into high gear in September.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. So anonymous attendee asks, are trustees required to live in the same town of the library that they are serving? So
No.
to answer the question, I'm going to share my screen to show you the actual statute that covers this. And what is it? Okay. So 40:54-9 states, among other things, if everybody can see the highlighted portion, from 5 to 7 citizens to be appointed by the mayor or chief executive, at least 4 of whom shall be residents of the municipality. So
Mhm.
there, 4 of the appointed trustees must be residents of the municipality that the library resides in. The others, from 1 to 3, depending upon the size of the board, can live in other towns. So that's basically the answer to your question. It's
Hey, Bob, let me add on to that because I had a question today and somebody said, can a business owner be a member of the board if they may not live in town, but they have a business in town?
as long as there are 4 other residents.
Okay.
The statute doesn't say anything about business owners or anything like that. They have to be actual residents. The person has to live there. So that's what the statute says.
And I think another key word in there is citizen. We've already
Mhm.
determined this, that anybody who is on the library board must be a US citizen.
Mhm. Exactly. Yep, that's all the members.
And I think
Mhm.
the business owner question is why they said somebody from out of town could be a member of the board, as long as you have the 4 citizens on the board. There could have been the thought when that was enacted that business owners would be a logical person to have on the board. So that could have been sort of the impetus for doing this.
Mhm. Yeah, so there's 1 to 3 non-residents could be a business owner. So
Right.
And Bob, there's a comment in the chat.
yeah, give me a second. I gotta bring my windows back up here. When I share a screen, my windows all go away. So The text on the screen says resident, not citizen. Okay, let me get that back up again. Hold on a second. And here come my windows going wacky again. Okay, so says from 5 to 7 citizens. So let's read the whole thing, and we're almost the whole thing. These none of the school officials. This talks about the ex officio members, the mayor and the superintendent, the president of the board, and from 5 to 7 citizens to be appointed by the mayor or chief executive, at least 4 of whom shall be residents. So there's the residents and there's the citizens. And that's basically it. So, and this is the citation. If you all want to copy down that, so you can have it for your notes. This is all on our library law webpage on our website. And yep. Get my windows back up here. Okay. All right. And there we go. Excuse me.
Waiting for some questions to come in here.
Okay, I just had time to read a part about for residents. Okay, good. Thanks, Brian. So again, this is kind of an experiment. Trying to get people to bring us their questions. What we used to do during COVID, if anybody is here from that time, we used to just have it used to be just straight Q&A. Anybody could talk, but there was a lot more happening around then with all the executive orders flying around.
Right. People had a lot more questions. What's your library doing about this and all of that? Things have calmed down a bit.
Yep.
Thankfully.
Yep.
But I think it's always nice to hear what other libraries are doing and issues other libraries are having.
Is there anything from Tuesday from the directors that you can share in terms of the topics they might have been looking at?
Let me think.
They were sharing some of like the special programs or special events that they were having in their library,
Yeah, Kimberly Paone shared something that they were doing about some like a scavenger hunt they did throughout the whole town, and they had a lot of turnout for that, and it was basically just kind of sharing the good stuff, which I heartily encourage everyone here to if your library is doing something special or noteworthy, share it with us, because we can all learn from it. And not just the other trustees, but us too. We don't get out that much.
Yeah.
I've been locked in this library since the beginning of COVID, so I don't get out at all.
We don't like to let them out. So here, I was just going to bring up, we had the discussion with the directors. We had more discussion about First Amendment audits and people filming in the library. And so here, Carlos has entered in the chat. What are your thoughts on best practices for dealing with YouTubers filming in a library to exercise their rights while trying to bait library employees? And, well, that was kind of a tricky topic. Bob and I, we're not lawyers, and we know that a couple of months ago, Dr. Lipinski, talked a good deal about First Amendment audits and the way, you really have to have your policies in place. And it was just, do you have a template for now Zoom or electronic board meetings? Okay, that's the next one. But, Bob, what do you recall about that discussion other than, there are things that you can do, but you have to check the law. And you have to make sure that your policy is in place ahead of time for them to follow.
Exactly. And that your policy references the law, that you're not just creating a policy in a vacuum, that you're creating it in conjunction with your attorney and looking at the existing law, not just New Jersey state law, but federal law, constitutional law, and kind of crafting a policy about things like this that take all those things into account. And like I said, during the director's check-in and director's Q&A, that in some places might actually cite the law, so that if one of these First Amendment auditors comes in and they might request your policy on this, if you say we have a policy about that, they say, well, show us your policy. You can show them policy, And if you have not just the policy, but where you, what you were looking at with this policy, what this policy is kind of calling back to in the law, and stuff, that might take a little bit of the wind out of their sails. Because then they'll say, oh, well, you are citing the Constitution, you're citing this and that, stuff. And it might not, make them go away entirely or whatever, but it might help out a little bit. There's definitely a lot of stuff. One of the resources that we talked about was the American Library Association. They have a lot of things on their website about photography in the library, First Amendment auditing in the library. I just actually did a Google search for American Library Association photography in libraries. One of the things that came up is about First Amendment auditors, and this is from 2019. So this has been going on for a lot longer than right now. And so I encourage people to go on there, go on the ALA's website and look at what they have as part of your research into this, so that you can craft a policy that takes all of these things into account.
And I think it's important that directors have a conversation with their staff about this, so that if it does happen in the library, the staff knows how to handle it. They're not caught off guard. They don't get into a confrontation or engage with these people, because that's what they're looking for. They're, looking to push the buttons of staff to get them to overreact or react, and posting it on YouTube. So you want to have a discussion with your staff. If this happens, this is how we should handle it.
Absolutely.
Yep.
And that's next. So it's a good topic for your board meeting too, as Bob said, looking at policy and also talking to your staff.
Mhm.
Yep. Okay, so we have some more questions. Some are in the chat. Well, I should have known by now. Put them in the Q&A, but that's okay. We'll let it slide this time. And some are in the Q&A, so I'm going to bounce back and forth. Let's see. Okay. Do you have a template for a bylaw authorizing Zoom or electronic board meetings? We don't really have examples of bylaws specifically for that. But I believe, and Pat Tumulty, you can check me on this if I'm wrong, but I believe that the Open Public Meetings Act is still allowing, are they still allowing electronic board meetings, or they're allowing some people to do electronic?
I believe that the governor has lifted all the COVID emergency procedures have been lifted. So I don't think that Zoom board meetings as on a regular basis are allowed any longer. However, that doesn't mean that you can't have an occasional Zoom meeting if necessary, to carry on the work of the board, or it doesn't mean that you can't have one board member Zoom into the meeting if they're unable to get to the meeting. And it's going to prevent you from having a quorum to carry on the work that you need to do. But I think the days of the regular, board meetings by Zoom are over now, because the emergency has been lifted.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, that now I remember correctly.
Yeah, I don't know of any library that is still meeting exclusively on Zoom.
I don't know. I think, Joe, again, the requirement that you have to be able to, a board person has to be able to be heard by every member of the board is still part of the Open Public Meetings Act. So you can't just have somebody call in, talk to the director, and then say, oh, Mary said yes. No, everyone on the board has to be able to hear that. And again, that can be spelled out in your bylaws.
Yeah.
That the emergency has been lifted and it's not complete, but does not mean that you can't occasionally have somebody do that, as long as everyone on the board can hear and that person can hear all of the conversation that's going on.
Right.
Yep, exactly.
Or if your board meets in the summer and people are away and you might not be able to get enough people physically there, you could possibly have a special Zoom meeting because it's a special case, but not, the regular. We all got used to not coming out of our homes, and those days are over. thankfully, I think.
Yeah, so exactly. So I'm looking at the next question here. Carlos asked if there's no centralized location for policy that is driven by law that can be utilized by local New Jersey libraries. There really isn't, because each library, while libraries often have the same problems or the same issues, every library is different. All boards are different. And there isn't, we do have some examples of some policies and bylaws in the trustee manual, but I don't think they're as specific as we're talking here. They're kind of just general examples. So what I always recommend people do in cases like this is, if you need something, you need a guide or something to emulate, call around to your neighboring libraries and see if any of them have it, or have you or your director, whoever's a member, post on the Library Link NJ forum and ask for examples from other libraries throughout the state, because anything that we got, that we received from anyone out, from other libraries, would be old and not usable very, very quickly. But if you ask for people out there, then it would, be fresh and something that's
Relevant.
implemented.
Well, you could just visit the websites of the libraries in your area, because they should all have their policies posted on their website. So you could just
Hopefully.
kind of look and see what policies your neighboring libraries have, and just, as Bob said, throughout the state, but it's important to look in your area and see what some of the issues are, because I'm going to say most libraries have the same policies, more or less. So just take a look and see what they have.
Yep.
And it's a good way to, kind of see what's going on in your area and your neighborhood.
Okay, next question in the chat. I'm kind of trying to get all the chat questions done before we go back to the Q&A. Jacqueline asks, what is the best practice for maintaining board and committee minutes? I don't know if that means taking them or maintaining them going forward. Usually a lot of libraries post them on their website, so that's a way of maintaining them. If they're in electronic format, they can be, like I said, posted to the website or saved on a computer somewhere. If they're in print, then you could put them in your files, but Pat, you have probably an actual practice, what you do in your library.
Yeah, board minutes are supposed to be kept in perpetuity. So you are supposed to have your board minutes from the inception of your library. So you should post them on your website, and you should also have a paper copy. We have them in our director's office in binders by year. And so we have them there, so they're readily accessible. In fact, we had a look at them today for something. And but that's what you should do. And then on your website, and then if you want to make a digital archive of them, I guess you could do that as well. But you should definitely have paper copies that are kept someplace safe.
I'm not sure you have to keep your committee.
Keep them forever.
What do you do about, I'm not sure you have to keep committee meetings.
No, I don't think.
I don't think you have, but you
Neither do I.
you have
The
to keep
board
your
minutes,
meetings.
absolutely.
I do not think you have to keep your committee meetings minutes or have those accessible, as far as I know, but.
Yeah, as far as I know, that's like anything that's deliberative doesn't need to be kept. And the minutes are looking at the actions of the board, not
Right.
the discussions, because something that's in a committee, you're discussing something that is eventually going to be brought before the board for a vote.
Right.
And you may
No
discuss a
formal
lot
action.
of things that never
No
actually
formal action can take place at a committee meeting, so.
Yeah, exactly. So, okay. Next question, Brian is talking about something back a ways. He was guessing that a library is considered a public place. Recording has to be expected and allowed. That was what Dr. Lipinski was talking about the different kinds of forums that parts of the library are. And so you can refer back to his presentation on that. Unfortunately, didn't let us record it, but
You have the slides.
yeah, his slides are have been posted on I think we posted them on, I know they're on the web on our website, but I think they were shared with NJLTA.
Yeah, they're on our website.
Yeah, if anybody doesn't have them, just send us an email or send me an email and we'll send them to you.
with that. I mean, people can't walk in and they can't just film people whatever they're reading or what they're doing on the computer, because that's violating someone else's First Amendment rights. So there are some limiting conditions that he did discuss, somebody brought up, what about somebody else's kids? Are you allowed to film their kids? So it's not that it's not that it's a public forum and anything is allowed to be filmed.
Yeah. They can't go in the director's office and film the director.
Yeah, so there
They can't,
And again, these auditors are mostly looking to engage with the staff and get a reaction from them. So if you can just tell your staff to stay calm, cool, and collected and not get into a confrontation with these people, that should help. And if all else fails, as we always tell you, consult your board attorney and see what their advice is.
Okay, back to the Q&A. In order to Carlos's point, New Jersey Library already has a policy on this to share. Okay, Jennifer was just asking the same thing we said before. Brian Waters, who is required to submit a financial disclosure form? More specifically, is the director? Are designees of the statutory receipts mayor in the school? An interesting question. And I'm going to look something up in my email, and you guys can talk about this while I find what I'm looking for.
We're gonna wait and see what you find.
Don't wait, because this might take a while.
Oh, okay.
Well,
To my knowledge, everybody who is on the library board must file a financial disclosure board, form. The mayor and the superintendent of schools have already done it as part of their jobs. So I don't think they need to file one specifically for the library, but everybody else does. And if they have, excuse me, my voice, if they have appointed a representative, then the representative has to fill out a form as well.
Okay, so here is, give me a second.
I'm going to contradict everything I just said.
No. So what I want to do is point people to a local finance notice, which comes from the Division of Local Government Services and the Department of Community Affairs. And this is talking about the local government ethics law, which is part of this what this financial disclosure requirement comes from. And I'm going to share my screen if I can find the button. Okay. All right. Can everybody see that?
Mm-hmm.
So what I just Googled New Jersey and then this number here, LFN 2023-08. And this is a long one. You can read through it and see what you have to do. But the important thing is that I read through is that the law, excuse me, hold on a second. I think Pat's allergies are coming across over me. So the statute that this local finance notice cites is NJSA 40. I'll write this in the chat so you want me to take notes on it. 40A:99-22.3G, and it says in part, this is talking about who needs to file this disclosure form, but shall not mean any employee of a school district or member of a school board. So I said, well, does that mean that the superintendent or the superintendent's alternate, if they're an employee of the school board, do they not need to file a financial disclosure form for their work on the library board? And so I emailed the assistant director of DLGS, and she forwarded me to someone else on the local finance board. And that person said, I quote, "The superintendent on the library board or her alternate is not subject to the local government ethics law and would not be required to file the financial disclosure form, financial disclosure statement."
Okay,
So
that's surprising.
Build that up, because the comment also asked, does the director have to file?
I believe the director does. Because if you look at, now my thing went away. Hold on a second. Stop share. I need to find my window here again. So listen, I'm rusty on juggling Zoom windows. Okay, so by virtue of your position, your local government entity has determined that you're a local government officer who's required to file NDS. This statute defines local government officer as any person, whether compensated or not, whether part-time or full-time, elected to any office of a local government agency, serving on a local government agency which has the authority to enact ordinances, blah, 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 who is a member of an independent municipal, county, or regional authority, who is a managerial executive employee of a local government agency, as defined by the rules and regulations adopted by the but shall not mean any employee of the school district or member of school board. So this I thought we have said in the past that means director.
Yeah,
Thoughts?
Sounds like it means director.
I think managerial sounds like director to me.
When you think
can
of
check-
what the intention of this is, it's a financial disclosure of anybody who has the ability to do business and to send business their way. So what they were trying to find out is if you have a conflict of interest with any of this. So you would think a director would be a logical person because he or she has the ability to make recommendations to the board to purchase certain things. The board has the ability to approve those things. So you just want to make sure that there's no conflict of interest. So in my mind, I would interpret that to me the director exactly,
Yes,
as
but
well as board members. But again, I'm not a lawyer and I didn't write these. So
yes, again, this is why I put this up here. LFN 2023-08. You can get this on your computer, send an email to your attorney, or I'm trying to see do we know where they have to file this? Do they have to file it with the town
you file
clerk?
it electronically,
Oh,
Bob.
that's right. Yeah, that's right. Okay, so there's nobody really to ask on that end, I was going to say.
No. You could ask your clerk, your municipal clerk, if you have questions, but once you
But
do
you
it,
file
the
electronically.
it comes electronically, you file it electronically and,
Mhm.
yeah, and again, they're trying to see if you have any vested interest in a company or a business that you would be doing business with as the
Mhm.
library, trustee. So that's what they're trying to look for there.
Exactly.
Yeah,
You think
your town clerk is the best person, right, Pat? Isn't that the one who usually?
Yeah, I would think so.
The town clerk did it, but that's still the person who I think is responsible.
Yeah.
So, and David says, as a council person, have to fill out that form for both positions. You're right. You do. Yep.
Yeah. And again, if you think of what the intent of it is, that's what they're trying to make sure that you're not, you don't have a vested interest in an entity that does business with the library. And that you'll be, sending work their way or whatever.
Sorry, I didn't hear my call. So let's see. Last question in the Q&A for now is, who determines what volunteer role is considered a local government official? There is, in the statute that this local finance notice cites, there is a whole section on definitions, and that would be where they pull that from. So that's a statute that's passed by the legislature, and they would define, basically is who is a member of, serving on a local government agency, elected in any office of a local government agency. There's all different definitions
Yeah,
in
but
there that
again,
would
when you
mean
think
the
of-
board.
When you think of the library board, they have fiduciary responsibility over a good chunk of taxpayer money. Other boards that you're on, I'm on the environmental board in my community. We don't have any of this because we have no money. And we don't spend any money. We can't make any decisions, it's a.
You're an
strictly
advisory
advi-
board, basically, right? Yeah.
But the library board is not that, and you have a responsibility for a lot of money, and that's why, you're considered a local government official.
Correct. All right. I'm not seeing any other, I'm not seeing any other questions come in. Give it another couple minutes for people to type. If anybody has any burning questions they would like to
There's
ask.
12 things in the chat, Bob. Are they things
Yeah,
we already talked?
I've been going through them and I think we talked about
Okay.
them all.
Okay.
And I went through those before I went to, oh, here comes another one. Oh, this is a good one. Any guidance or advice concerning shared services agreements between municipal administration and the library, particularly in instances of both sharing the same combined building? What is allowable or advisable? What are pitfalls or advantages? What is disallowed, e.g. charging nominal rent and for use of a library building? Realizing this may be a big topic, perhaps for its own session. And I just want to ask anonymous attendee, are you a mind reader? Have you been,
Are you a
in
plant?
me and Michelle's and the Pat's mind for the past couple of months? Because this is a subject that has been coming up quite a lot lately. And so
Research,
sorry, Michelle, go ahead.
a lot of research on this before we can actually put a program on about it. These shared services agreements, and we just don't want to, do a program and open it up and not give you anything that we shouldn't be giving you. But, a lot of these shared services agreements, from what I understand, are not written down. They're kind of these verbal agreements. Let me just get your question again, Bob, if you want to chime in while I read again. Yeah.
I mean, you're right there. That's kind of the problem that we've been running into, is a lot of these are old agreements that have just been going on and on and on throughout the years. And this is the way we've always done it. So these are, agreements that were never written down, just there always. And suddenly the new people are coming in and questioning, why is this happening? Why are we doing things this way? And no one's able to really say. And now is the time to kind of get it all down and write it down and have everybody agree with it. But like Michelle said, this is a big subject. It's a very touchy subject because you might be dealing with political concerns with your municipality. You're dealing with financial concerns. You're dealing with a lot of different kind of moving parts. And we want to be able to not just give you a discussion about this, we want you to be able to go away with it with something that you can take back to the rest of your board and say, okay, let's start working on this. We have these tools. Let's start working on doing this.
And I think I could, address, and you guys could join in, some of the pitfalls and some of the advantages, of having these shared services. But it's going to require the board to always be on your tippy toes. So, it'd be really great, and it's optimal for you to have a good working relationship with your municipality, and for them to do, some of the things that, and pay for some of the things that you might be, just do a lot of work. So if they can take care of payroll for you, if that's an agreement, that's something that's really nice to have. But here's the thing, and here's the pitfall of it. So while you have this convenience of the municipality taking care of some of this sort of legwork that you all have to do, as say regarding payroll, on the other hand, what you have to make sure is if they're charging you for that they're you have to know what those charges are. They have to be upfront and tell you. You have to make sure that they're reasonable. They just can't charge you whatever they want. And have you accept that? I mean, you have a responsibility to spend the taxpayer money wisely. And so if they're charging you X amount for payroll, and that seems like an exorbitant amount, it's incumbent on you as the trustee and the trustee board to now go out and find out, well, what would a payroll company charge me? Yes, it's extra legwork, and maybe, it's extra work for us, but we can save a lot of money. So there needs to be, it's great to have the working relationship, with the municipality, snow removal, whatever, removing trees or debris or, whatever it is. It's great to have that working relationship, but it's also incumbent on you that if they're charging you for these services, that you find out what it costs and you approve them, just like you do a bill list, You have to approve that you're going to let the municipality charge you for these services, and the municipality has to be very upfront about what they're charging you. And you have the option then to go out and say, this doesn't seem reasonable. I'm going to see if I can, get someone else to do it, or, what, this seems great and it's working just fine. But it is, good to have everything put out front, and you still need to approve, all of this, and they need to tell you what those charges are. And therein lies some of the problems, that we've been hearing about recently.
Yeah.
I'm working on one of these right now with my municipality.
Bob, I see something else in there. It says, for example, nominal rent for use of the librry building.
No,
No,
There
no,
is no
cannot
such thing.
rent.
Okay, here, I'm gonna have to bring this up, so I'm gonna have to do some
If
digging.
you are in a building that was built specifically to be the library, the municipality cannot charge you rent. They
right.
cannot.
Even if it's a shared building, no rent.
Yep, give me a second here to find this. Nope, that's the wrong page. Sorry.
I'll sit here and Bob will bring it up.
Yeah, I'll bring it up. I'm just typing here and
Right.
okay. So I did. Give me 1 second to share my screen again. Okay, this is a regulation. The administrative code 15:21-12.6, ineligible municipal or joint free municipal library costs that may not be supported with the annual mandatory library appropriation. Debt or lease payments made to a municipality cannot pay debt, cannot take on debt, cannot pay debt service or anything like that. Rent or lease payments made to a municipality. So if the municipality is charging you rent for the building that you're in, you can show them this. You are not allowed to pay that. They're not allowed to charge you rent or anything like that. This is different than in the statutes governing municipal libraries, where it says that the library may rent rooms. That is renting a room from someone other than the municipality. So if you're doing construction on your building and you need to relocate for temporarily into another place like a strip mall or something like that, you can rent a place there,
Right.
But you are not allowed to pay rent to the municipality. Capital expenses not meeting the criteria of the title above here, which is right there, and debt service, as we set up here, debt service costs. So you cannot pay debt or lease payments to the municipality, and you cannot take on debt and pay that back. You can't pay debt service. So again, this is, I'll put the link in the chat. If I can get the chat here. And thank you, Trish, for the citation. And there is the link. You can click on that, save it as a bookmark in your web browser, and bring it back to your board. And stop my share there. And done with that. When it says, let's see, there's another question. When it says it may not be paid out of the mandatory funding, are they referring to the millage funds? Yes, that's a third of the mill. What if the municipality supplements that will add additional appropriations if rent does not exceed? Is that permitted? Now,
I'm not sure what that means if rent does not exceed, but this.
well, so what they're saying is, say the library this is weird, because why would they even do this? If the town pays $100,000 extra to the library, but then charges them $100,000 rent, well, why are they making that transaction? That doesn't make any sense. Or even if they're charging them $50,000 rent, why would they give them all that money? it's not like one of the reasons why they can't pay it back to the municipality with the mandatory appropriation is because that money is outside the cap, and they could be then raking back more money than they would be able to get within the cap. That's the same thing with return of funds, things like that. And so lose my train of thought. Crap.
No, you can't do that.
No. Yeah. So basically the answer is no, you can't do that. It's
doesn't
not
make sense.
something that's allowed. And it's not something that would make real sense to
Right.
me. But anyway. Okay. I don't see any other questions. I don't see any other chat questions.
Last chance, we don't want to hold you here longer than, than we need to. It's about
Yep.
15 minutes left, but there's no reason why we can't end early.
Yep.
Remember, summer reading's starting, so I'm sure that's a very exciting time in all your libraries. So help your staff. Summer reading's going to be starting. I'm sure they're going to have a lot of programs that you want to be supportive of. So it's going to be a great time.
Yep. Okay. Brian Waters, is one. This is the last question. We're going to call it after this. What funding activities are the Board of Trustees allowed to do?
What funding?
What-
Does he mean like funding?
What I think he means fundraising. Yeah.
Buy
Pat
lottery
Pavlak,
tickets.
do you want
I would
what's
say buy lottery tickets.
to?
No, Pat, I don't think that's.
No, they can use their own money to buy lottery tickets if they want, but not the library's money.
No, I know that. That was a joke.
I know. So I think the question, the real question here is that in the past, we've talked about how the library can't really do fundraising
Right.
and things like that, because one of the reasons for that is that the money that the library receives from the municipality is to be used to provide library service. And fundraising, while would be getting money to help provide library service, is not specifically providing library service.
Right.
But the board are volunteers. They don't use library funds. They're not paid by library funds. So I think if they wanted to do something on their own time,
Fundraiser or something like that, wine and cheese fundraiser or something like that.
because you're not using any library funds, and library employees that are on the clock, which would be using library funds, as long as you're not using any library funds to do things, it's you could do that. But I will say you should have one or maybe two fundraising groups that work with your
You
library.
should have your friends group.
Yeah, and maybe a foundation if you need that.
Foundation, right.
Yeah. So
Or of appeal requesting, donations to the library. That's something that goes out.
Some libraries have a donation button on their webpage that,
Yep.
you can do that. Or some people do a periodic fundraising appeal, like at the beginning of the year or mid-year or something like that. But
And
Yep.
yeah, there's somewhere in the statute, but maybe Bob or one of you can address this, or there's somewhere in the statute that says, but the trustees are responsible for getting adequate funding.
funding for the library. But I think, to me, the way I always interpreted that is that they are responsible for advocating with the municipality.
yeah,
if
that's what I
you're,
kind of.
If your third of a mil is not sufficient to provide the library services you want, then it is the board's responsibility to make the case to the municipality
Mhm.
and ask for an
Exactly.
increase
That
in
that
the
is-
third of a mil.
At the same time, that's the board responsibility to advocate for funding. And this is different.
That's how I always interpreted that too, Pat. Yeah.
Yeah, and again, if you don't have a friends group, maybe now is a great time to get the ball rolling and start one, because that's a great way. A friends group that's a nonprofit corporation has a lot more wiggle room and ability to fundraise than you as a lone trustee would. So I would definitely either work with them or.
Yeah, I mean, if you have a friends group, our friends group is fantastic and they are a wonderful resource for us. They fund almost all of the programming that we do in the library. They put on, they sponsor our summer reading program.
Mhm.
They do an awful lot for the library. And,
Yeah.
we're
So-
very fortunate to have them, but some libraries don't have a friends group. And as Bob said, this is a great time to start one if you don't
Yeah.
have.
And Brian actually says they do not have a friends group currently in his library. And he asked, could you start a donor advised fund? Not sure what that is. Not, but
Yeah,
anyway,
like a-
a foundation, friends group, or association for fundraisings, and this is the kicker, and still be on the board. That's the problem.
Yeah,
You could definitely talk to people in your town and say, hey, we could really use a friends group. Why don't you start one?
right.
That's fine. But if you said, me, Brian, I want to start a friends group and thereby be on the board of the friends group and the board of the library, you can't do that.
You can't do that.
You can't have can't serve two masters like that. And so yeah. But definitely you could convince someone else to do it. And then this is honestly, this is really the last question. Antonia says, can the representative for the superintendent vote? And by that, I think she means the superintendent's alternate. And yes, the superintendent is an ex officio member of the board. When they're not there and they send an alternate, the alternate acts in their stead and can vote, can do anything another member of the board can. If both of them show up, what's that, Michelle?
And the superintendent is not there.
I say, yeah, exactly. As soon as the superintendent shows up, if the alternate is also there, the alternate becomes another member of the public and cannot do anything that a member of the board can do during that meeting. So yeah. That's it.
That's it.
But we hope you'll join us on June 7th for the joint meeting with trustees and directors for business resources and development.
I'm going to send out the announcement again, probably next week, just to remind people and get it in front of people's eyes. And I'll send it to you, Pats, as well, if you want to post on the NJLTA again.
And we are working on the shared services program. So
Mhm.
I don't know, probably not until the fall, right, Bob?
Yeah, it's going to take.
In the
It's
summer, it's hard to get people, and
it's a
too-
complex, touchy topic, and we want to do it right.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, and the fact that, like we said, that these were mostly like all verbal agreements and people are asking specific and, templates and examples, and those are things that we don't have. I mean, basically, all we had tonight was the statute of eligible and ineligible costs, that's like pretty much what we have to go on right. So,
But that's a good guide. That's an administrative code, and that is a good guide to look at as you're starting to do this. So look at that 15, NJAC 15, whatever. That's a pretty good guide because again, it answered some of the questions you had today. No rent, no money for bonding, some of those big things are covered in that document. So that's a good place to just kind of get yourself familiar with the topic.
And as we always tell the trustees, don't make the assumption that your municipality knows all of this.
they don't.
Because many times they do not. And, you have to bring it to their attention.
Yep.
Sometimes they don't take it kindly, but that's your responsibility as a trustee to just point out to them. So the person who's paying rent, tell your municipality that's a no-go.
Yeah, and like I said, you could show them that.
Yep.
Show them that administrative code. It's very clear. If you have any questions, email me and I can help you out as much as I can as a non-lawyer person.
As we reminding you.
Yeah, and you can always, again, you should have a board attorney that works only for you, not for your municipality. And they are a good person to run all of this by.
Well, other than that, thank you all for joining us tonight.
Yep.
It's about 8 minutes to the hour and got all the questions and had a.
That is it.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you all very much.
Yes, have a good Memorial Day and a good summer, and we'll be here in the summer.
Yep. We will see you the first week of June.
Yep.
And that's it.
Yep. Thanks, everybody.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Good night.
Good night.